everyone. This is Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to Super Spreading Bitcoin 2022. This week in Bitcoin. Today is already December the 10th of 2021, and I am driving across America in a black Nissan Versa, and I find myself in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Last week I was in West Virginia. Strong hand. I am seeing what's really going on in this country, baby. Long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. I'm offended by selling. Don't FOMO on altcoins. And yeah, if we're not FOMOing on alts, we're not talking about that freaking guy who pretends that was news this week. It's not news this week for me that dude had some lawsuit or whatever, the fake Satoshi. That's the only thing you're going to even hear about it on this show. We're not talking about that here. I don't care if it gets clicks and views and whatever. Hello, my elite friends. You know we got some hardcore freaking Bitcoiners here that we're not going to talk about noise like that. Oh, God, that's so disgusting. I want to vomit when I think of it. And that people actually put that in the headlines just to get clicks. Ugh, and people fall for it. All right, so Bitcoin Motorist is making his freaking debut here. And we got Linear Trav. He's been here before. And, of course, John Vallis. He is a glorious dude who I tell John, you want to come on? He comes on in 1 second. It's unbelievable. So it's great to have you all back here. When I think about John Vallis, I saw him just in Miami, but it wasn't just in Miami. I mean, it was not that recent now. That was back in June, but it's coming up again. April 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. We will talk about if all these dudes are going to be here, but you should be there. I will be there. Use the discount code Bitcoin 2022. I am pumped. You'll see my Nissan Versa there. Oh yeah, I'm living large, and still he only drives a Nissan Versa. He must be poor. You think that? Pound that like button, people. All right, but use the discount code Adam10. It's linked to below. And yeah, I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to buy a real nice car and freaking park it in Bowling Green, Kentucky, or in West Virginia. You see what happens real quick. So let's start out with the news. Speaking of West Virginia and Kentucky, they've got representatives in the House of Representatives. And hey, there was a hearing. This Wednesday, and I can't stand these politicians. But oddly enough, some of them seem to actually like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and knew some terminology and stuff. And Brad Sherman went off on it, and we will talk about that. But a lot of people were surprised. A lot of people were ready to sell all their Bitcoin in panic once everybody said their bad things about Bitcoin. But it seemed like they were more interested in how many women do you have on your board, and regulating stable coins. And that's great. Stable coins are a shield for Bitcoin. So enough about my take on the freaking hearing, because that was big news this week, and we're going to cover all the big news. So, Linear Trav, what was your take on the hearing?
Well, I definitely didn't watch the whole thing. I'm sure you did, Adam, right?
No. I don't recommend anyone watch the whole thing. No, I did not. But read the freaking articles about it and watch the highlights about it. But what did you? What's your overall take?
I think the overall take is that you can clearly see two sides forming. Having a pro-Bitcoin crowd versus, the Brad Sherman anti-Bitcoin crowd. A lot of questions, I think, in both sides were leaning in more, I guess, polarity, really. Though we did have Brad Sherman, I think the biggest laughing moment was when he tried to compare Bitcoin to a mongoose, saying, well, I think I have his tweet here. He said, mongoose defeats a cobra, and then mongoose defeats hamster-like creature. And he's trying to say, basically, the Bitcoin is the what was it? The MySpace of crypto, right? He's trying to say that he wants to kill it, essentially. But it's laughable because it's all going to come back on him. Erica Rhodes is fighting against him, but I won't. Go ahead.
No, that's the thing. Is it going to come back on him? How powerful is the Bitcoin lobby? I think it's more powerful than I originally thought because some of these dudes are now pro-Bitcoin and stuff. There was much more pro-Bitcoin talk than I thought there would be. So that was a big takeaway for me too, is that, I've had people on my show before that, want to be part of a Bitcoin lobby. And again, I think lobbying is disgusting and whatnot, but it has to be done on a certain level. So I think the vocal Bitcoin maximalists, the vocal Bitcoin firsters out there are making a mark. And the Brad Sherman case is one extreme. Like, how powerful is the Bitcoin lobby? Can they take this dude out? It's a very interesting thing. Now, I'm not going to waste my time on it. I think he's a complete joke. But he has no shame. He has no shame whatsoever. He's putting it all out there. He hates it. He hates it. Look, keep on going, Linear Trav. Sorry to interrupt you.
I think the main thing, that I took away, being a non-voter for many years, is that if I had to vote somebody out like Brad Sherman, I would go back to the polls. And I think there's a lot of Bitcoiners that, have been anti-political that would now step up. And I think the Bitcoin wave could take over politics. So we'll see.
Yes, I think it's a very good point that there are some non-voter Bitcoin people that might be totally triggered by this dude to be like, you know what, I'm getting back into this game, or I'm getting into this game. And it is a vicious, disgusting game. All right, Canadian crippler, John Dallas, what do you think? I mean, you've got an outsider view of it. I mean, you can't vote in America. Well, maybe you can. Who knows? The way things are going, anyone can vote in America now. But what's your take on the hearing?
Well, I mean, I didn't watch too much of it. I saw some clips on Twitter, and I read the article that you forwarded over. And I got to be honest, I just don't care. Like I mean, it's kind of funny. The irony is, like, Sherman, he may be shameless, but he seems to be the only one that really gets it, right? Like, I wonder how supportive these people would be if they knew the threat to at least the size of their institution that Bitcoin represented. For now, I think a lot of them are just grasping, oh, look, it's innovation, it's jobs, it's whatever. We should be supportive of it. I don't think many of them truly understand all the implications, but Sherman may, or he may just be towing the line of his, traditional legacy financial system donors. But I don't know, man. I struggle to care. Like, you self-custody your coins, you do your thing. Like, Bitcoin's going to truck along. It's going to go up and down. And I fully appreciate, the people that argue and represent Bitcoin. I mean, also there's other people there that are representing their own interests that are ex-Bitcoin. And, I don't think that has a long-term future. But I don't know. I feel like there's just more interesting things to focus on. So I end up just by default not focusing too much on these sorts of things. It may be relevant to, like, the broader crypto industry far more, but to Bitcoin, I don't think. I mean, regulations can cause friction and make things more difficult for people, of course. And so, I get the rationale behind engaging the process, but I don't know, man. I'm too zen for that at this point. I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, on a certain level, it's a show trial type of thing. There's some people are trying to shame these CEOs, and you make a point. These are crypto CEOs, okay? So they're in charge of attack vectors. They're in charge of third-party entities that deal with cryptocurrency. They're going to have to deal with regulation. So they're going to have to play this regulation game. And unfortunately, Congress is, in charge of the regulatory bodies, or is intertwined with the regulatory bodies. We don't need to get into the complexity of it all. So that we have to have these show trials. Well, they have to be involved in these show trials here. So it is, if you are running a cryptocurrency related business, this has more to do with you than, like, for a person like me. I just buy and hold Bitcoin and I have it on my own device. So whatever Brad Sherman wants to do, whatever his wet dream is not going to affect me. But if I owned a company, it could get pretty nasty. Right. And I just want to point out that he is in California, of all places. And California has been a hub of innovation in the United States of America for quite some time, and it's pathetic that in a state that was once associated with such innovation that they deal with such a dude. So it will be interesting to see what his future is. But he is very confident, obviously, that he can get away with this type of thing. And he's honest about it, at least. Some of these other people might not be. Now, before we get to Patrick here, I want to read a quote of that someone's takeaway from this on the internet was on Twitter. Alex S. Jones. It's not Alex Jones, but Alec Jones, who's actually from Baltimore, like I am originally. Wanting Bitcoin to be nonpartisan is blindly naive. And today's questions by Rashida Tlaib make that abundantly clear. Decentralization, energy usage, and sound money are incompatible with far left values. Now, I will say this. The far left seems to be obsessed with energy usage, and we will get with that. But I cannot agree that Bitcoin is nonpartisan, that it's not nonpartisan. Again, if Rashida Tlaib wants to declare her intentions of starting a Marxist revolution in the United States of America, and she wants funding for it, well, she's not going to be able to get, PayPal won't let her do that. I mean, they will cut her off there. But the only way she'll be able to do it is through Bitcoin. Okay, so in that sense, it is nonpartisan. Now, are there some? So they are the leftists who seem to have a not favorable take of Bitcoin. A lot of them just don't like it because they think it helps the other side, and in fact, it helps everyone. So in that's why it can help anyone, and that is why it is truly nonpartisan. Okay, so I get what the dude is saying there, but I just wanted to point that out there, that there are some leftists that are just against Bitcoin because they think it helps the other side, and they have to be, and that it's a zero-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. Just because some people you don't like are getting rich off of it doesn't mean it can't help you in your times of desperation. So, Patrick Motorist, what was your takeaway on the hearing, and Brad Sherman?
Well, I think you guys all made really good points, and I'm going to give my opinion on what transpired. But let me just quickly say first that I was really excited to find out, BitcoinMeister, that you're motoring cross country. I've motored cross country many times, and it's a great way to see the nation. Most recently on a Harley Davidson. So have a good time, man. Enjoy seeing parts of the country that most people just fly over. So that's great to hear that you're doing that. It's a very good experience. I recommend it to anyone. Regarding, I think John Vallis made a really good point to say that he doesn't care. A lot of this stuff is not really relevant to you. If you're just a Bitcoin hodler, if you just stack sats a little bit at a time or lump sum, whatever it is, however you do it, most of the stuff doesn't really affect you, especially if you're putting your stuff in cold storage like BitcoinMeister is. The people that are actually concerned about this are these companies, whoever they are, whether it's Coinbase or FTX Crypto. Overburdensome regulations would hurt these guys more than it would hurt just a regular Bitcoin hodler, someone who just stays humble and stacks sats. So I don't really think most Bitcoiners have much to worry about. However, I will say this about Brad Sherman: the fact that someone like him can go and say all these outrageous, asinine things about Bitcoin, he needs to be challenged. And the fact that he's being primaried by Erica Rhodes, Linear Trav mentioned Erica Rhodes. Now, again, I'm an anarchist. I'm not a big political lobbyist, but I'm from Southern California, even though I'm in New Hampshire at the moment. I'm from Southern California, so I know Brad Sherman's district. It's in the San Fernando Valley, what they call the Valley. Where the term Valley Girl comes from. So I'm talking to my friends in the Valley and letting them know, hey, make sure you support this girl. I don't know if she has a chance to unseat Brad Sherman, But I think it would be great because she's saying all the right things. She's talking to Bitcoiners. She's saying all the right things. Who knows? Maybe she'll turn into another Brad Sherman. But the fact that Brad Sherman can lose, that's going to be because he's in a safe seat. That's going to be headline news. And the headline, I guarantee you, the headline is going to be anti-Bitcoin congressman loses seat. And we want that headline. Yeah. We want to send that shock, that shockwave through Congress. That if you go out there and run your mouth and say stupid stuff about Bitcoin, you better watch your back. And regarding this Alec Jones saying that Bitcoin is obviously political. It's obviously partisan. He's sort of right, but he's also sort of wrong. So I think that a Republican who goes out there and says anti-Bitcoin stuff will be hurt more than a Democrat who goes out there and says anti-Bitcoin stuff. So when Trump started slamming, and he's still slamming Bitcoin, that's just a huge unforced error on his part. However, I think that Democrats are playing a very dangerous game. If they decide to, stake their claim as we're going to be the anti-Bitcoin or even the anti-crypto party, it's actually more of a danger to Democrats than it is to Bitcoiners. So while Alec is correct, he's what I think the part that Alec is missing with his tweet is that if Democrats are anti-Bitcoin, that's not a bad thing for Bitcoin. That's a bad thing for Democrats. They're the ones who are going to get hurt by it, not Bitcoin or Bitcoiners.
All right, excellent points there, my elite friends. Hello, my elite friends, and good reference to the Valley Girls of Valley Girl, yeah. So let's move it up the coast a little bit because Frank Castaldini just sent $5 from San Francisco. And he's looking at those San Francisco guys, not those Valley Girls. Hi, Adam. Greetings from San Francisco. You are number one in the Bitcoin space. No one has stronger hands than you. Well, thank you, Frank. And I'm hoping you're enjoying the beautiful scenes up there in the city of San Francisco. No Valley Girls up there. You got something different. You got some sailor guys up there. I know you're liking that. But $5 you sent to me. Thank you for the support. We only need $15 more for me to be able to do another one Bitcoin show next week. And I forgot to say that at the beginning of the show. You can PayPal me at adam@tresorhelp.com. And I also, besides thanking the great Frank Castaldini here, I wanted to thank last week we had crypto miner Kevin for his generous support, and Eric, thank you, dudes. Now we only need $15 more. And okay, so let's move on. Oh, I also want to say there's a dude, Paul. He is in motion. He has a Bitcoin Christmas story book, audio story, whatever you want to call it, or audio tale. I linked to it below at Amazon.com. I'm Jewish. I didn't listen to it. I have no interest in Bitcoin Christmas stories whatsoever, but I know a lot of people, it's that time of year and you like Bitcoin, you love your Christmas bush or whatever that you do. I don't know what you darn do on the 25th. I'm working my tuchus off on the 25th every year because I'm freaking in motion. But those of you, it's a funny little thing. And Paul, it just shows you anyone in this space, there's so much opportunity. You can make a freaking Christmas Bitcoin story and you're part of the movement, dude. So Paul is below. It's linked to below if you guys want to do the Christmas story thing. And I know happy Christmas. I guess it's in a few days or something like that. 15 days. You got 15 days, people. I got no days because it's nothing for me, baby. Pound that like button. All right. So we talked about the Bitcoin lobby and let's talk about. All right, Patrick. I alluded to this beforehand, but there's an article that's going around now, and this is like a different version of it. But the white nationalists have done well off of Bitcoin. There's some so-called white nationalists that bought it a while ago, and they become rich off of it. And there's all sorts of people that bought it a while ago that got rich off it. And there's also white nationalists that have used it as a funding mechanism. But as I've said beforehand, if you're some wild-eyed Marxist, you can use it as a funding mechanism also, okay? And some people are saying, well, this white nationalist FUD is going to now take over for the environmental FUD. I disagree. I think we have to be more concerned about environmental ESG type of FUD than this type of FUD, because ESG type of FUD could shut down the whole freaking world, for God's sakes. So, Patrick, your take on all this?
Sure. One thing that you should really look into is what the source is for this story. The source is a group called the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I think a lot of your listeners can already be familiar with. They have been sued so many times for incorrectly labeling people as white supremacists or members of a hate group. And they've even had to settle and make public apologies for including people. I mean, almost anything can get you on their list of being part of a hate group. I mean, if you're against the war in Syria and you say that Assad did not gas his own people, that was, there was something fishy going on with that gas attack, because he had no incentive to gas his own people and he had nothing to gain from doing it, and he had everything to lose. And there's no evidence that he actually did this gas attack in Syria. If you say something like that, you're considered a conspiracy theorist according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, and because you're a conspiracy theorist, now you're promoting fascism. It's just some weird, convoluted, twisting to try to label anybody they disagree with as part of a hate group. So besides your obvious point that, well, just because some white supremacists benefited from it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I mean, if a white supremacist uses a cell phone, it doesn't mean cell phones are bad. Obviously, that's the obvious point. But there's more going on here. Another thing is that it seems like they're just upset that they can't cancel these people. It's like we can't just we can't just lobby Coinbase, or we can't just lobby Amazon to turn off the servers for Bitcoin. We can't just complain on Twitter a couple of times and get this thing shut down. So it's kind of funny that they're complaining that that these people are uncancelable. It's like they're actually advertising. I know they're trying to denigrate Bitcoin by saying it's connected to white supremacy, which it's not. But they're also sort of advertising one of Bitcoin's best virtues, which is you become uncancelable if you have Bitcoin. There's no way to turn off your account if you're hodling your own coins, just like BitcoinMeister mentioned earlier. So that's part of it. Another thing that I think is most people don't even consider, even a lot of Bitcoiners don't even think about, is they talk about, these certain addresses are connected to these white supremacists, and who knows whether they're really white supremacists or whether they're just people that the Southern Poverty Law Center disagrees with. But the fact of the matter is that a Bitcoin address, you can never prove with 100% certainty who owns a Bitcoin address. If I send coins to an address and I control the keys to the address, I can say, yeah, I own the address. But let's say I share the keys with John Vallis. Now, who owns it? Or let's say I publicly post the keys somewhere. Now, who owns that address? Does that address still belong to me because I'm the one who sent coins there? Or what if multiple people have keys? So this idea of these Bitcoin accounts, these addresses, the idea of Bitcoin ownership, I think it's actually a very, very philosophical question that I think a lot of people haven't even thought about. Even a lot of regulators haven't thought about, because you can pass laws about capital gains and things like that, but if you can't prove that this person owns something just because they have the private key, do they actually own those coins is the question that I think is a very interesting question. I think it's something that most people, even Bitcoiners, haven't even delved into to think about. It's a very philosophical question of what is ownership in Bitcoin.
Well, it seems like something that a lot of lawyers would like to get in on the action on there. You're talking philosophical. I'm thinking legal wise also. Mm-hmm. There's different interpretations of who owns what and whatnot. The lawyers can untangle it or tangle it up as much as they want to there. But again, control your own private key, people. And I do want to say Southern Poverty Law Center, they've definitely went down the tubes over the years. I think they used to probably be a better organization. ACLU has really gone down the tubes, much worse than they have. Everything needs to be classified as fascism now. I mean, the ACLU in theory was supposed to, if a fascist wanted to speak, they were supposed to give them support them. Now they will not. I know that seems disgusting for some people. A group that wants to help. The ACLU was about letting anyone speak. It's freedom of speech, people. So yes, fascists should be able to speak. in the United States of America. Deal with it. They don't like me. I don't care. They should be able to speak now. But some of these supposedly freedom fighting organizations have totally lost their mission.
The EFF is another one that they've gone downhill along with the ACLU. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a shame too. That's a darn shame. I want to before we stick with this topic, I want to make a correction and a big thanks out there. The great Frank Castaldini, and I sometimes I pronounce his name wrong because I'm from Baltimore and I've got a Baltimore accent. He said $15 more. So, dude, we are going to have a This Week in Bitcoin, not a This Week, a One Bitcoin show next week, along with a This Week in Bitcoin show next week, because the great people at Bitcoin Magazine who love to promote the Bitcoin 2022 that we will be at on April 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. They sponsor the This Week in Bitcoin show. And you guys, like Frank Castaldini, there, me pronouncing it right there without the Baltimore accent, support the One Bitcoin show. So we'll do that next week. Oh, it will be fun next week. I am pumped. I am so pumped. I could tell you about what I saw on the streets of Huntington, West Virginia, something that was very shocking. All right, because, it's so funny. We're talking about white supremacists and what you hear from the media. And part of the reason I'm driving across the country is to show you that, it's not a country filled with white supremacists, okay? In what I saw that was so shocking in West Virginia was the opposite of white supremacy. And I'm just going to, you watch the show next week, we'll talk about that. But John Vallis, what do you think about FUD, energy FUD versus white supremacist FUD? What is more concerning?
Well, you had an interesting comment a few minutes ago where the energy FUD could literally shut down the world, and that would be problematic, and probably more so than people screeching about white supremacy. But I do find it, Bitcoin treats everybody the same, right? And people that are used to constructing a narrative, basically having a hissy fit every time things don't go their way, every time people or institutions don't adhere to their ideology, they have a hissy fit and they try to maneuver and shape the narrative in a particular way. And what Bitcoin just says is, no, we treat everybody the same. I don't care what your ideologies are or anything. And that's the benefit of it. And you got to accept that. Bitcoin is money for enemies. And, in a time where narrative is, in many cases probably has superseded or at least greatly influenced the law, it's really great for another institution like Bitcoin to emerge where that can't happen. Because I think the reason why they get so upset and they have such a hissy fit is because we exist in a society today where they're used to their narrative, which they construct, being able to influence the law, which is completely antithetical to the whole purpose of law. To be honest, I don't care if you're a white supremacist or racist. I'm probably not going to, hang out with you and talk, because that's a pretty divergent issue. And it's probably going to create friction between our perspectives. But if you're not breaking the law, I don't care what opinions you hold. But we exist in a society today where that is by no means the case. If you even expressed a view tangential to something that's even remotely non or off narrative today, you can be canceled, you can be derided, you can be whatever, and that's goes against the whole purpose of having a legal system that's, having a legal system, right? And, the Rittenhouse thing recently was a good example of that not being the case, right? You have the president and everyone downstream of that characterizing that issue a particular way. And, it seems like justice was properly served. The process was carried out properly, and it seemed like justice was served. Even me saying that is probably controversial to some people. But the punchline is that I love how Bitcoin, its rules can't be broken. And it has you're able to establish an ownership relationship with it such that you can avail of those immutable rules. And that's great. Whether or not whatever ideology you may hold, Bitcoin's going to treat you the same. And in a time when the legal system is not doing that, I think that's a very valuable thing.
Yes, we have thought crimes today. And then we have people that try to interpret what other people are thinking and then brand them criminal, bring the thought crimes to them. They don't even express their thoughts, but they're committing crimes because people think they're thinking certain ways. It's absolutely insane. But for me, the beauty of it is money for enemies. I love it. Pound that like button again. But for that saying, but you cannot be censored because of your thoughts. These third parties can you think a certain way, or they think you think a certain way. You're not using their financial transaction mechanisms. Okay, I mean, once we get Fed coin in the United States, if you think a certain way, perhaps they won't allow you to use Fed coin. That would really suck, wouldn't it? But with Bitcoin, you could be the biggest thought criminal in the world, and it can't be. And you can send it to another big thought criminal, and it can't be stopped. It can't be censored at all. And that is a beautiful thing. And I really hope more people on the left, and there are plenty of people on the left that do understand that now. Okay, and we've had guests on the show who have, we had a professor from Wyoming who was talking about that, who's on the left side of the spectrum, and some people are, it can be valuable for everybody in this day and age when everybody's so freaking sensitive. But money is the ultimate freedom of speech. Okay, and don't get into a financial paradigm where you're stuck, where it can be. Where your freedom of speech can be taken away from you in terms of money. So let's go to Linear Trav. We've said a lot here about the ESG and white supremacists and censoring. What's your take on all this?
I think the irony of all this is that them trying to quell their speech and using the banking system as an enforcement arm against that actually caused them to probably go to Bitcoin in the first place.
Yes.
So it's not that they're, I mean, they might not be a big Bitcoin fan at all, but it's actually freedom money. And so it's even funny. Brad Sherman talking about the mongoose. Well, they're building their own mongoose, Not only is money printing causing a lot of people that are in search of a lifeboat financially, when you have these groups try to quell their free speech, they're, like you said, Bitcoin is the ultimate freedom money, not just financially, but also, with what they're trying to do in their, I mean, like we said, we don't always agree with them, right, John? We might not see eye to eye on most of the things, but it is the freedom money, and Bitcoin removes their muzzles. I think
that's an amazing point, Trav. Very well said. They forced them into this, and then now they're complaining that these people went into Bitcoin. It's like, cry harder.
Yeah.
I would, and as everyone can see, I've tried to bring up the energy, environmental FUD that's and compare it to the WN, the White Nationalist FUD. And all of us naturally go to ranting about the White Nationalist FUD. And I want to point out that, it is, we're all four, it looks like we're four white guys here, although the WNs wouldn't consider me a white guy, and that's a very interesting point too. But it's really bothersome on a certain level to be called a racist because you use Bitcoin. But we have to get out of that emotional aspect of it, because I can't stress this enough. It is for me, it's saying that Bitcoin destroys the environment is something so many more people are going to easily pick up on. And if they do pick up on it, it can really be a hammer that these statists are going to use against Bitcoin and especially other cryptocurrencies. But I just think Bitcoiners have the opportunity to nip this in the bud right now before it really threatens the progress of the world. Because if enough young people, to me, it appears it already is. There are enough young people right now. It is their religion that every single thing on earth is destroying the environment. And thus, we should no longer have progress. We should go back to the Stone Age. and just live these very simple lives, not get on planes anymore, because the environment is priority number one. This mythical Earth is priority number one. We are nothing. We humans being, living a long life, a long, happy life, is nothing. It's for the collective. It is for the Earth, and we will elect leaders and join political parties that really want to take us back a step. So for me, it is, there's all sorts of different FUD out there. In the end, it is all noise. But if this becomes a dominant part of mainstream culture, which I think it's very close to being, the whole world is in for a lot of hurt. Okay. And I keep on saying this is a golden age we are entering. It is an age of innovation. But the forces that are psychotic at this point can do their part in slowing down the innovation. And that could really be detrimental to so many people's lives. It could really shorten people's lives if we really start adopting as a mainstream culture that the environment is the religion. So but before we leave this topic, I want to give the panel an opportunity to comment on the environmental FUD and what it could possibly do to Bitcoin, and that Bitcoiners have an opportunity. If you ever encounter it online, speak the truth. It is total nonsense. It is total nonsense. Because it's right now, there are a lot more people that are convinced, that are probably like, yeah, it isn't a white nationalist coin, but they'd be more prone to saying, yeah, it is destroying the environment. Your mining is destroying the environment. You should be stopped. Brad Sherman should shut you down. Okay, so there. Yeah. ESG. Any of you guys, take it away.
Yeah, sure. I'll start real quickly. So I'll confess, the reason why I didn't really mention the ESG is because the WN stuff is much more easier to debunk. But I'll tell you this. Whenever I fuel up my car, or right now, Adam, while you're motoring across the country, I don't think we even stop ever to figure out how much of a miracle that is, that we can use this energy and effortlessly just travel, ourselves, go from point A to point B, something which 100 years ago would have been a huge chore. Just to go 5 miles would have been a huge chore. And you're able to effortlessly go maybe 300 miles a day and not even get tired from doing it. I think it's just a miracle. So I think that the way I approach it, I don't know if this is the best way to argue it, but the way I look at it is energy use is a miracle that has actually advanced human civilization. And it's the thing that's going to save us all. If humanity is going to survive, some whatever apocalypse you want to think of, it's going to be done through optimizing and through using energy far more efficiently and far more, acutely. I don't know if acutely is the right word, but basically you don't create energy. What we're able to do with fossil fuels and with nuclear power and with everything else is we're able to take the energy that exists in the universe and kind of focus it more and more and more sharply into one place to be able to cause a whole power grid to turn on. And I think it's just a great miracle. I mean, lots of people have written about this. I wish I could remember the name of the book, but there was a book written about how fossil fuels are basically are saving the environment.
Alex Epstein? Was it Alex Epstein's book?
It may have been. I think so. But
he's a good one. He's a good one to follow, people.
And then also there's the other argument that I usually make, which is that Bitcoin is actually going to save the environment because it incentivizes saving and disincentivizes consumption, which is fiat. The way the fiat economy is going, when you get fiat, you actually are incentivized to consume it or to go into debt. Whereas with Bitcoin, you're more incentivized to save and to delay gratification. So it's kind of a more of a long-winded argument, but to me, that's what clicks for me. So that's what I try to tell people who say that Bitcoin is destroying the world. And I say, no, actually, the fiat monetary system is what's destroying the world, and Bitcoin will save it.
There you go. And by the way, you mentioned about filling up your car. You don't think about, this modern miracle. I will say this, during my travels across the United States of America, when I was just in Dallas, I was right near Love Field. And when I would run, because I run all the time, I was doing my sprints, and I would see those Southwest planes taking off like one after another, after another, after another. I was proud. I was proud to live in this world where we get, and they're of course being fueled by fossil fuels. I mean, that 100 years ago there were no planes. I mean, I don't think there are a lot of people that take pride in just and it's just commerce. People traveling. It's progress. It's commerce. It's all sorts of stuff going on, and I do consider those moments.
Bitcoin Bernoulli on Twitter and Clubhouse. He's an engineer, and he did a calculation. He told me once. He said that when a 747 is taking off, at the moment that it's taking off from a runway, it is actually using the same amount of energy as the entire city of San Francisco. He said he ran the numbers, and he's like, "Whoa! It's actually almost exactly the same of a 747 when it takes off. At that moment, it's using as much electricity as the entire city of San Francisco. It is a miracle that thing is able to take off using that much power." Yeah,
well, it's with power is progress. Okay, so people don't be paranoid that we're using all this power. And you also made a good point. It's so much easier to debunk the WN stuff. But if you only have so much time during the day on Twitter or whatever, if you have to choose between one and the other, choose the environmental stuff. Just to reinforce that point, because there's so many people that are convinced that the environment is the religion now. But John, you're the one who agreed with me beforehand that said, if not enough energy is used, the whole world's going to go down the tubes. But any more thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I just think this has been fairly deeply ingrained, and I think this is going to have to play out. And it's not even about the energy. Bitcoin could be 100% hydro, solar, wind. Then it would become a matter of Bitcoin using energy that could be used for better purposes. And so in that case, then it becomes a matter of, well, how much do you value Bitcoin? And the people that say that it could be redirected for better purposes effectively value it very little. And that's, very different from our view. And I don't think there's an easy fix to that. Bitcoin has to do its thing, and it has to mature, and it has to keep revealing and showing the solutions that it does provide people. And those solutions have to become increasingly made aware to people. And I don't think that happens through persuasion. I think it just happens, or like person-to-person persuasion. I think that happens through the course of time, where this solution becomes more developed and solutions emerge on top of it, and it becomes more apparent. Its value becomes more apparent over time. And then sentiment will kind of shift. But, we are way down the road of a lot of people, like you said, kind of having this environmental and global catastrophe thing be like one of their core driving things. And it's been blasted into their minds for like a decade or more. And I don't think, you could talk to these people until you're blue in the face about all the different things that we just mentioned and much more. And I don't think it's going to have much impact. So for my time, I don't spend much time trying to persuade anybody, either in my personal life or on Twitter. I just try to engage this thing and be a part of its maturity and part of its development and part of its increasing surface area, so that its value can be more easily observed and it can be more built into the world. And it may still not be enough, right? Like there's a lot of crazy people that think the world is like on the precipice of disaster. And I think it seems like that's not the opinion of anyone on this panel. But I don't, Bitcoin's probably going to have to put up with that FUD for a while. And I think it will handle it properly, because it's always just going to say, cry harder. That's what Bitcoin says to everything. And more and more people will start to get it. And as has been happening for the last 12 years, like more people, it just clicks for more people. And then they start acting it out, and they start contributing in some way, or they start using it for a valuable purpose. And that makes it more difficult to just say, oh, it's a completely valueless thing, and therefore all the energy devoted to it is wasteful. So.
Very, very good point there. There are a lot of people in this world. I mean, if you watch the mainstream media, you would think the world is about to end. I mean, there's so many negative stories out there. The world is not about to end, but there are. I can scream it until I'm blue in the face, but there are plenty of people that believe it. They really think, and it's just so sad. I knew this is a bigger topic, that there are young people out there that they think there is no future for the world. It's disgusting that people have bought into this narrative. It really is. And you're caught at I mean, they compare you to a denier of the I can't say the word. I wish I could say the word.
I know what you were going to say.
Of the H cost back in the.
You're a denier. You're a denier.
You're a denier. If you deny climate change, you're just like denying that the Germans did horrible things. No. This is crazy. That we've come to this level, but okay, I've taken away from Bitcoin for it's so disgusting that I can't say certain words on YouTube. But I mean, this is their platform. It's unbelievable. Okay, let's go to Linear Trav. Environment, the world is ending, and Bitcoin.
I mean, I know what you mean though about how they're bringing up these kids today. I've got kids in school, and it's difficult to fight the FUD there. So obviously the battle that we're fighting with Bitcoin is a huge battle, but kind of like John said, it's through the individual hearts and minds, both for Bitcoin and the environment in general. But here's the other thing I was thinking of. So let's say we do, prove that the environmental aspects, Bitcoin passes it, like you said, 100% renewable. And even the social aspects, like with Jack Mallers fighting for the financial freedoms for everybody on the earth. Let's say you even get past that. It's the governance part that they still won't get past. They want to govern. And the fact that Bitcoin has 21 million and can't be messed with, that, you could have all the other good positive use cases and examples and responses to their FUD. The governance, there's no getting past that at all. So, you could spend till you're blue in the face on the E and the S, but the G, it's going to get you.
Dude, that was a really good conclusionary remark for the ESG topic right there. There are some people that will never get over that they cannot control it. There are such control freaks out there, whether they be in the Congress, whether they be in the private industry. But what I will tell them, and encourage them, just fork off. Make your own. Compete, don't complain. We'll see how good your freaking ESG Bitcoin does. It will make us holders richer once we get your free fake ESG Bitcoin. All right, so John's going to have to go pretty soon, but I want to get his take on, I alluded to before, the last time I saw John in person was in Miami. And John, will you be returning on April 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th in Miami of 2022?
Yeah, excluding any, special circumstances that may pop off. We live in a weird time right now, and things are more uncertain than ever. But absent that, I'll be there, man. I'm super pumped. The last one was incredible. Met so many people. I mean, it was so good to actually just meet Bitcoiners, and especially the prior 18 months or so, we'd all been, locked, various forms of lockdown and stuff like that, and to connect with so many like-minded people that you're just immediately on the same wavelength with, and you can just talk about anything, really. I mean, they become friends almost instantly. It was such a special experience, and this year it seems like it's going to be two or three times bigger. I think they're planning on having a capacity of 35,000. It's going to be right on Miami Beach, which will mean less. I stayed on there last time, and so less Ubers and stuff like that. I think it's going to be fun. I'm pumped, man. I know they're going to blow it out of the water. They're going to do all sorts of crazy stuff to make it extra special. But again, I mean, take away all that stuff, and the best thing is just hanging with Bitcoiners. I mean, I was in the grounds 90%, apart from the time that I was emceeing. I was on the grounds just hanging out with people. Didn't go to the kiosk, didn't go to the speaking sessions. I was just hanging out with Bitcoiners, and it was phenomenal.
And that is exactly where I met you, in some hot ass tent. Oh, I just said a bad word. No, that's not a bad word. Yeah, in one of those tents out there. And just there's John in person, and you're the same guy and everything.
And John was pretty busy last June because I think 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks after I saw John at Pork Fest. So he was so it was great to see him make it over to Pork Fest as well.
You couldn't get back into Canada, right? Was that Canadians, may it be easier this year on you. I'm praying for you. 30,000 people are going to be there. Hopefully many more Canadians, because some Canadians didn't come down because it was such a pain in the tuchus to get back up there again. But
I left Canada to go to the conference knowing that I wouldn't be back, and I haven't been back. So
I knew that too, man. And the other ones had to find magical. I'll fly into Calgary where they don't do. Everybody had a gimmick, or I'll drive across it from Vermont to get back. It's nonsense that Canadians are awesome. They're the same as us. It's so ridiculous. We have these different rules. It's really anyway. Let's go to Linear Trav. You actually have to go soon too. But are you going to be in Miami? You weren't in Miami, and
no, I wasn't. I wasn't last year. With family situations, I've not been able to go. But and actually, I'll be traveling around the country for my son's baseball. But what I do want to do, I do agree with John that getting to meet Bitcoiners, no matter where they are, I think is huge. And in Indy, we finally have a meetup. I've been trying to get a meetup together. And this Wednesday is our third Indy Bitcoin meetup. And I'd like to publicly invite you, Adam, since you're so darn close. I think you should come up to Indy and come to our meetup.
Oh, wow. So I should get in my Mayflower truck and go up to Indianapolis. Does anyone get that illusion anymore? Anyway.
No, it's a day trip. Or stay one night. That's all you got to do. And then you can go on back.
I haven't. I thank you for the invite. That wasn't on my, maybe when I'm coming back the other side, because I got to make it West Coast. But dudes, if you're in Indianapolis, go to the event and follow all three of these guys below, by the way. They're all linked to below. They are all awesome. Linear Trav is involved in all sorts of technology and stuff too, beyond this. But Trav, you got to go at 4:00. Are you?
Yeah, I do.
And
good to be on. Thanks again, Adam. Good talking to you.
Yes, and good luck to your son's baseball, dude. I'm glad he's playing. That's a great sport to play, man. Let's get back to some traditional stuff here.
He's way more talented than I am, so
that's my favorite sport is baseball. Although I made a football allusion with the Mayflower trucks. Does anyone get that yet? Still, anyway. Okay. There you go. Pound that like button. In Baltimore, we don't forget, baby. We don't forget what happened. All right. So, okay. Thank you very much, Trav. John, how much longer do I have you for? Are you out of here too now, or?
Yeah, I pretty much got to bounce now.
Okay. So it's gonna be me and anything you want to promote real quick before you go. You got the podcast and everything, please, but promote that.
Yeah, I host a podcast. It's called Bitcoin Rapid Fire. I also help CT out with their podcast and Twitter and all that jazz, normal places. So. Okay. But thank you, Adam. It's always a pleasure to hang. Boys, great to hang with you guys. Motorist, good to see you again. And hopefully we'll be able to connect in the new year somewhere, Miami or elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, I know we will. I will definitely see you in Miami, man. So pound that like button. Thank you for being on. And hey, if you want to see these again, Motorists will be in Miami, right?
Yep. I'll be in Miami too. Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to be some other place too that I was going to talk about here with you shortly. I think you're going
to be in Las Vegas on.
That's right.
So we're both going to be in if all goes well.
Yeah.
We'll both be in Las Vegas on March. Was it
March 3rd? March 3rd through the 6th, I believe, is unconfiscatable. So the tickets are on sale right now on unconfiscatable.com. But though the price is about to go up, so grab those tickets before the prices go up. And there's going to be a poker tournament there, axe throwing tournament, carnivory dinner, and not only is Adam Meister going to be there, but so is Adam Back. And last time, Adam Meister and Adam Back were sitting right next to each other, so I have to be very careful. I didn't want to say Adam because I don't want them both to turn. If I wanted to talk to Adam Meister, I said, "Hey, BitcoinMeister." If I wanted to talk to Adam Beck, I said, "Hey, Dr. Beck." So I had to make sure to not say Adam. I had to say BitcoinMeister or Dr. Beck to refer to them both.
All right. So but the main days are the 4th and the 5th, right?
That's the main. I believe so. Yeah, the
main 2
conference.
days are the 4th and the 5th.
There's like a pre-day and there's an after day where there's a pinball tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt. I'm going to bail. Great
Later,
to see you
John.
all.
Good to see you again.
See ya.
See you guys. Well, we're keeping Bitcoin Motors and I are keeping this show alive.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm the D in Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy that part of town much more so than the Strip, to tell you the truth.
Old Vegas. Yeah.
That's old Vegas. I think about Sammy Davis walking around there. No doubt, Dean Martin, womanizer. Who knows what was going on back in the day there? And anything goes in Vegas. I value my wealth in Bitcoin, but if you want to value your wealth in women, there's plenty of that going on. Speaking about valuing your wealth in women, I do want to say Bree Fit Dance is in the house. She's a beautiful Bitcoiner. She does the videos. She does tributes to big guys in the Bitcoin space, be it Sailor. She made a tribute for me. So follow her on Twitter. I've retweeted her many times, but that's one of the lovely ladies of Bitcoin. Now, in Vegas, there's lovely ladies of all sorts there. So we got so Vegas will be in March. Miami will be in April. And you're the unconfiscatable. One of they gotta get back to me. Some of the unconfiscatable. I've been DMing them about some specific things. I haven't bought my haven't bought my hotel a ticket yet at hotel reservation at the D. I'm trying to figure out how many days I should be there for and everything. But also with Miami, the 2 main days. It goes the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th are the middle 2 days, the 7th and the 8th. So I wanted to put that about. But some people there's the Miami. There's the last day of Miami is a big concert. So there's different packages you can get with the Miami thing. Tone's event, unconfiscatable, is a little bit simpler. It's not going to be 30,000 people there, but it is so hard.
Not this year. Maybe in the future. Not.
It gets real hardcore at Tone's event because. Right. At the end you have the Scammy.
The Scammy Awards. I almost forgot about that. That was super fun. The Scammy Awards were super fun because we got to roast a bunch of shitcoiners and no coiners there. It was so much fun. I'm looking forward to this year's Scammies too. I have some ideas of who should be nominated. I have a couple of ideas of who should be nominated for what award. So it's going to be fun to see who gets nominated and who wins the Scammies.
Well, obviously, one guy that was nominated last year that'll be nominated this coming year is the one that we can't talk about on today's show because
probably not.
His name has been on the news. But it's fun to hear his name mentioned at Unconfiscatable because people start, going crazy, booing. I mean, that was pretty fun. The post party at the bar, that was a wild time. That was when they were doing the Scammies. There were a lot of boos and a lot of everyone was getting out the.
The crowd was rowdy. I'm telling you, it was very rowdy. And what's interesting is that there was an online voting, so you could vote for the losers or the winners online on Twitter. You could also vote in person. So if you showed up to Unconfiscatable, you also had a vote. And the final vote was an equal. They took an equal amount of online voters, of voters in person, and voters of the speakers. And what's interesting is that the in-person voters and the online voters matched on every single category except for one. There was only one category where the online voters disagreed with the in-person voters, and that was for Ripple. So Ripple won an award because the online voters were way more than the in-person voters. But it's funny because I think it was just a bunch of Ripple bots who went in there and voted for Ripple.
Now remember, winning an award means you're a loser. So,
exactly.
So just putting it out there.
No big loss.
And what's her fate? And remember, what's her darn name? She was in an evening gown. She looked great.
Yeah, Leah Wald.
Yeah. The evening gown look was beautiful. I mean, yeah, you got some.
And we got. I think this year the crypto couple, I believe, is hosting the Scammies. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I didn't speak out of turn, but that's what I think Tone told me. I believe the crypto couple is going to be hosting the Scammies this year. Last time it was Tone and Leah hosting, and they did a great job too. So I'm looking forward to to that.
Leah in the evening gown. That was beautiful. All right. She wore 3 different outfits during the whole day. I pointed this out last year. I mean, you had also.
Leah's great. She's running Valkyrie, which has that Bitcoin ETF, which is really exciting.
Okay. So now there was one more topic here that we didn't get to cover here. And there's 2. Evergrande. I just wanted to point this out here. This Evergrande real estate thing in China, I don't give a rat's tuchus about freaking Chinese real estate. But people have, for quite some time, have tried to say, well, if the Chinese real estate goes down the tube, the whole world's economy is going to go down the tube. And thus Bitcoin is going to go down the tube. And Tether and Bitcoin are intertwined with the Chinese economy.
What?
It's such BS. So this week, Evergrande defaulted as expected. And the Bitcoin price did drop some. Then it came back up again. Who cares? It's short-term stuff. We are long-term thinkers here. No one is going to remember Evergrande.
I know. I bought the dip.
Everyone knows Bitcoin. So I don't know if you have any opinion on this.
Not much. Same thing. I don't really follow this. The only thing that I'll say is that I remember before I got into Bitcoin, so we're talking back in 2011, 2010 days, I remember thinking to myself that China is the future of the world. They're going to be the future of the world economy. They're going to be the next economic superpower. So I remember thinking that I needed to learn Chinese back in 2010, 2011, before I got into Bitcoin. But I think, and even as late as 2017, maybe I would have told you the same thing. But I think the way that China has reacted to Bitcoin says that they've kind of cut themselves off from that opportunity. I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't really see China as being this future world power like I did if you had asked me 10 years ago. I really don't think, and I think this is just more evidence of it. I think it's just a bubble, and a real estate often leads to a bubble. There's this something, I think it's called the skyscraper index, that whenever some country or city builds the tallest skyscraper, they immediately go into an economic downturn right afterwards. It happened in New York City, after the Empire State Building was built. We had the Great Depression. It happened in Dubai after they built the Burj Khalifa Tower. They had an economic depression right after that. So I think that this is just more of that. This is extravagance and overconsumption and too much debt that they don't know what they're doing to just build and build and build and to show off to the world that we're this big superpower. We have look at all these buildings we're building, and it just turns into just another collapse, just another debt bubble.
They've cut down on freedom. That's their problem.
That too. That's a big part of it. And the
reason they have done it is because the control freaks in charge don't care about the progress of the common person in China. They claim to be communist or whatever. They want to keep their power. They love control, top-down authoritarianism, and they want to keep up the image that they're successful so that other countries fall in line and mimic them. If other countries mimic them, then they have greater sway over the world. And the last few years, we've got all sorts of people falling for this Chinese propaganda that what they've done lately is good. What they've done lately has hurt them. Not letting their people, if they let their people have true economic freedom and let them be into Bitcoin, they wouldn't be in charge anymore. They'd be voted out. They'd be gone. But they would be an economic powerhouse, okay? But no, as they become more restrictive, the economy has gone down the tubes more. And yes, restricting Bitcoin is quite a horrible move on their part. It keeps the people in power over there, though, temporarily. But it'll all come back to backfire on them. Yeah. Economic freedom, individualism, that is the accomplishment. They are not about individualism, and they are about restricting people's economic rights over there. You can't own Bitcoin. That's
no long-term thinking there. It's short-term thinking among the elites in China.
Yeah, it definitely. And now they do have some long-term plans, but they do not properly incorporate a long-term thinking into their long-term plans. It is definitely short-term thinking, but just again, we're laying down the basis of why you cannot overreact to anything in China. Evergrande. What goes on with Evergrande stays in Evergrande, okay, dudes? It is not bringing down Tether. It is not bringing down Bitcoin. All the different things that I've heard, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't hear any about it. I just saw that the price was down, and I was like, oh my god, the price is down. Let me stack some sats.
The price. What people expected that once Evergrande collapsed, that it would be a horrible collapse in Bitcoin, and that didn't happen, and that wasn't going to happen. And sure, some people sell the news. Let them sell the news. Let them be traders and pay short-term capital gains tax. Have fun being a CUCK to the IRS. Okay, 100%. All right, because you were scared of China, you become more of a CUCK to the IRS. You're selling and buying and this and that and the other. All right, and finally, I wanted the Michael Saylor quote that I want to share. Bitcoin strategy has 100x our brand value. And what he's saying is that incorporating Bitcoin into their activities, you're buying all this Bitcoin, that was their Bitcoin strategy, has 100x their brand value. And I agree with that. Like, no one would have heard of freaking Microstrategy if they did not get on the Bitcoin train. And that's just one industry right there.
Yeah, you hadn't heard of it before. I mean, I hadn't heard of it before.
No, I didn't know what they did. I still don't exactly know what they do, but I know they're the Bitcoin company. So there are so many different industries out there where if you want to become a leader in your industry, just get on the Bitcoin train, but use it, and you'll be the biggest name in your darn industry. Okay, and so I think there is a lot of marketing power, brand awareness that can be used by third parties by just jumping onto the Bitcoin train there. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do actually. That's a very good point that you just made. But here's the thing about the Bitcoin brand is Microstrategy got a lot of promotion out of buying Bitcoin. And then the second company was Tesla, I guess. They got a little bit of a bump, and that was Mass Mutual. There was a few other ones. But the point of them is that the first movers get the most advantage from doing this. So the earlier you jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon, the bigger your bump in your like for example, El Salvador got a huge Bitcoin bump because of the Bitcoin brand. The next country that does what El Salvador did, they'll get a bump too, but it won't be as big because they're going to be second. They're following, so they'll be second fiddle. So this is how do I say it? A zero-sum game. So if you're some corporate exec that's thinking about incorporating Bitcoin into your company, somebody like Apple or whoever, if you wait too long, eventually you're going to do it anyway, but you're not going to get that huge Bitcoin bounce, because at that point, every company is going to be a Bitcoin company. Every country is going to be a Bitcoin country.
Well, it depends on the spin that your marketing people put onto it. Okay. Because you can paint yourself in a completely different pie. Let me give you an example. You're right. El Salvador, they were the first country on earth. But if you're a European country, you can spin it with your spin. We're the first European country. And that could be quite so that's why I was saying in what industry, there's still plenty of industries that other companies haven't jumped on the train yet. So I'm the first one in personal computing or whatever it may be, whatever industry. There's a different spin you can take. How good are your marketing people? And I've got that marketing brain here, and a lot of people don't think about the marketing aspects of Bitcoin. So indeed, on a certain level, it may be a zero-sum game, for the first movers, but you could paint yourself as a completely different type of first mover. Depending on how you define your industry or you define your country or whatever. So there is, we're the first world country to get into Bitcoin here. So there's a lot of different takes you can have on it, but it does help your brand is the bottom line that I think we both can agree on with that one. And so you marketing people, incorporate it into your brand. Let it help your brand, and let's see how good of a marketer you can be and how big of a spin you can put on it. All right, I think that's all. They announced that the inflation was higher than they thought it would be today again, and Bitcoin price went up for a little bit, then it went down. Let me say this: the bottom line when it comes to inflation in Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what the news tells you. It matters how many people realize inflation is really going on and how many people want to protect themselves and thus are buying Bitcoin. That's what's going to help the price of Bitcoin. Not that some news organization announced the freaking obvious, well, the obvious to the 20%ers. What really helps Bitcoin in terms of inflation is when the people that are getting wrecked by inflation turn their dirty fiat into Bitcoin. So that's my take on the news today. That there was some release that the dollar inflation was worse, and Bitcoin price went up on that news. But it should really go up on people acting correctly in their self-interest. Most people don't act in their self-interest when it comes to inflation anymore because they believe the talking heads that say inflation is good and it's happy inflation, and they should just go along for the ride. And that ride is going down the freaking Niagara Falls.
Inflation is good if you're in a bunch of debt. Then inflation is good. So for those people, that's fine. Inflation is good. But if you're someone who has long-term thinking and you have a bunch of money saved because you're thinking about the future, inflation is really bad for those people. So hopefully a lot of those people have switched over to Bitcoin.
Indeed. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to promote that you're involved in?
Just see you guys in Vegas at Unconfiscatable. So check out unconfiscatable.com. Follow me on Twitter, Bitcoin Motorist. I'm on Twitter, Clubhouse, under the Telegram under the same handle, and then we'll be at Miami as well. So see you guys over there and come say hi. This is Whitney. She's been jumping up. She's really curious whenever I talk to someone, on the computer. So she always wants to see who I'm talking to. So she always jumps in my lap. So, say hi, Whitney. And then obviously in the summertime, I'm involved in Pork Fest. So we got Pork Fest going on. So look into that as well once June rolls around.
So they're gonna have a Bitcoin stuff over there at Pork Fest?
Yeah, we had one last year. We had a Bitcoin lounge. It was great. John was there. John Vallis, who was just on with us, he was there. We had a lot of great Bitcoiners there. Tone obviously was there. We had we had Peter St. Onge, who writes for the Mises Institute. He as an economist, he was there talking about Bitcoin. So it was a great event, and we're gonna try to do it even bigger this time. And Surfer Jim, he was there last year. He's coming back again this year. Surfer Jim was amazing at the Bitcoin Lounge. So yeah, and if you want to stop by BitcoinMeister, we'd love to have you as well.
Well, I've got the car now. I've got the black Nissan Versa, baby. Woo. All right, and you mentioned Surfer Jim. He did the Triple Crown last year, I guess, because he was in Miami, he was in New Hampshire, and he was in it wasn't last year. It was Tone's last event.
2020,
in Vegas.
Well, 2020. It was 2020. He did Unconfiscatable. That's right. And then 2021. Was Pork Fest.
I love Unconfiscatable in Vegas. It was the end of February of 2020, right when people started getting worried. But dude, I got on a bus. I was hugging people, and then people marched.
You took a bus from LA to Vegas, a Greyhound bus.
You took a bus from. I took a bus from LA to Vegas too. But
no. That's what I said. You took a bus.
I took a bus. Yeah, I thought you said you did.
No, not me. But I've taken that. I took that bus one time. I can't believe you did that. That was such a bad experience for me. But you did it because you wanted to come to Unconfiscatable, and I love that about you.
It wasn't Greyhound. It was the worst one. It's a European-based company. And it's unbelievable. I took it. I arrived there at like 3 a.m. and I hung out with someone at his place, and then I left at midnight. So I was only in Vegas for less than 24 hours. But heck yeah, if I was in LA, I was coming there. This year is going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to be driving my car there, and so yes, I look forward to seeing you in person in Vegas, in Miami. Everybody, these events are really, really fun. Super Spreading Bitcoin 2022. Again, a reminder, your discount code is below. Maybe I'll have a discount code for the Vegas thing too. I don't know if you guys will hook me up with that. Who knows?
There's no vaccine for the Bitcoin virus.
Oh, pound that like button. And reminding everyone, if you want to, I don't want to speak for Tone or whatever, or for Bitcoin Magazine, but being at these things in person, nobody cares if you wear a mask or don't do. I mean, Be your own self, okay? No one is checking your ID. These are real events. I mean, they are as they always were. And that's why I call this show Super Spreading Bitcoin 2022, because after that event, the mainstream media, or after last year's Bitcoin 2021 conference, whatever you want to call it in Miami, there were some of these fragile little mainstream media writers that were like, I couldn't believe hardly anyone was wearing a mask in Miami and there were 10,000 people. And guess what? Nobody got, I mean, were there any plagues afterwards? Did I drop dead afterwards? No, of course not. But they were trying to paint it as a super spreader event, and it was not. And it did, you know, my own family members were paranoid when they heard that I was at a super spreader event. They were worried. It was just disgusting. But in reality, no, be yourself at these events. And that's part of the fun of it, you know, hanging out with people, being your real self, not having to worry about these freaking screaming Karens. There are no screaming Karens in Vegas at the Vegas event or at Bitcoin. Well, actually, at Bitcoin 2022, there's so many. There are a few. As the media people, some of the media people are screaming Karens. So I correct myself there. But the overwhelming majority of people that will be of the 30,000 people that pay their way into it, no one's going to be a screaming.
And I've gone to all three events that we were talking about: PorkFest, Unconfiscatable, Bitcoin Miami. All three of them had a blast. Didn't have a single bad experience in any of them. So if you're worried about coming out there, you're worried about someone, you know, having a bad experience, it just doesn't happen. You just hang out with your 10,000 of your closest best friends, and you're all best friends because you all like Bitcoin.
30,000 this year. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Enjoy your weekend wherever you may be. I'm looking forward to doing 2 shows next week if all goes well. Thanks to Frank and everyone that supported us today. I'm Adam Meister, BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Subscribe to the channel, pound that like button. You get something here every darn week thanks to Bitcoin Magazine. Come to the event in March. Discount codes in April, I mean. Discount codes are below. Again, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. See you later. Take care. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're ending it there. Let me end it on this end.